Hey babe, welcome to Baseball for Girls, where baseball meets soft girl energy. I'm Shaughnessy, and here we do baseball with heart, humanity, and a little humor. So, whether you're brand new to the game or deep in your baseball era, you're in the right place. So grab something cozy and settle in, and let's get into today's episode. Let's play ball. Hey babes, welcome back to another episode of Baseball for Girls. So today I have another weekly recap for you guys. So this will be for the week of June 22nd to June 28th. So to just jump right into it, the overall weekly vibe for this week was the manager shakeup that happened. So the Mets fired their manager, Carlos Mendoza. He was the manager for the Mets for 2 seasons, and he actually led the Mets to the National League Championship Series in 2024. Obviously, the Mets lost that series to the Dodgers, who then went on to win the World Series in 2024. But overall, it just goes to show that Carlos Mendoza was a really good manager for the team for that year. They ended up firing him last week. I believe it was last Friday on June 26th. And that was during their 6-game losing streak. So hopefully this manager shakeup will be a good thing for the Mets. Maybe that'll help them bounce back. They did still lose their series against the Phillies this past weekend, but I mean, the Phillies are a pretty good team, so and maybe this week they'll have some better luck now that they have had this little manager shakeup. So we'll just have to wait and see. Other than that, the biggest news, I think, from this week is that the Braves have been dethroned. They have been at the top of baseball for almost this entire time until this past week. So the Braves have been falling behind. Last week in my weekly recap, I did say that they were a team that is cooling down. And cooling down they have, because now the Dodgers are at the top of all of MLB and have rightfully taken the throne from the Braves. So now we'll go into some of the sweeps from this past week, starting with the weekday series. So the Brewers swept the Reds last week, the Dodgers swept the Twins, the Braves swept the Padres, and the Cubs swept the Mets. And then over this past weekend, the Rangers swept the Blue Jays, and that was in 4 games. The Yankees were swept by the Red Sox. That was also a 4-game series. And the Rays swept the Diamondbacks this past weekend as well. So, like I just mentioned, the Yankees were just swept by the Red Sox this weekend in a 4-game series. That is the first time that's happened since 2018, which is also the year that the Red Sox won the World Series. Granted, that year the Red Sox were 108 wins to 54 losses, way above 500 at 667. They are nowhere near that right now. But for me this week, the Red Sox are the sneaky team of the week. So the Red Sox are 36 wins to 46 losses overall. So they're a little bit below 500 at 439. They are 12 and a half games behind the Tampa Bay Rays, who are at the top of their division. So if you remember, the Red Sox are in the American League East, along with like the Orioles, the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays. And so the Red Sox have won 7 and lost 3 of their past 10 games, and they're currently on a 4-game winning streak. Like I mentioned, they just swept the Yankees in 4 games. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again because I'm a Yankees hater. And now it's time for our temperature check. So this is where we talk about the teams that are heating up and the ones that are cooling down. So, to start with the teams that are heating up this week, I think that the Rangers are really starting to heat up. Right now, they're sitting right at 500 at 42 wins to 42 losses overall. They've actually won 7 and lost 3 of their last 10 games, and they're also on a 4-game winning streak. Like I mentioned, they just swept the Blue Jays in 4 games, and last week they did lose their series against the Marlins, but I still think that the Rangers are really starting to have something click. So we'll have to see how they start to progress over the next couple of weeks. Another team that is definitely heating up is the Dodgers. Like I said, they are now at the top of all of baseball. They're at 54 wins to 30 losses, bringing them to way above 500 at 643. They've also won 7 and lost 3 of their last 10 games, and they're currently on a 2-game winning streak. They swept the Twins this past week, like I mentioned, and over the weekend they won their series versus the Padres. Another team that is heating up / is been hot this whole time is the Tampa Bay Rays. So the Rays are at the top of the American League East. Currently, the record is 48 wins to 33 losses, bringing them to 539, so way above 500. They've won 7 and lost 3 of their past 10 games, and they're currently on a 5-game winning streak. Like I mentioned, they just swept the Diamondbacks over this weekend, and last week they split their 4-game series that they had with Kansas City, so they won 2 out of 4 of those games. The Rays have been at the top of the American League East this whole time, so that's not very surprising, but I just wanted to shout them out and give them some love. And then for the teams that are cooling down, obviously the Mets. So, like I mentioned, they had a 6-game losing streak last week. Currently, their record is 35 wins to 49 losses, bringing them below 500 at 417. They're currently 15 games behind the Atlanta Braves. If we remember, the Mets are in the National League East, and the Braves dominate that division. They have won 2 and lost 8 of their last 10 games, and they're currently on a 1-game losing streak, so they just lost their game last night, and they lost their overall series against the Phillies this past weekend. They were also swept by the Cubs during this past week. Another team that's definitely been cooling down are the Toronto Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays are also in the American League East. They're currently 39 wins to 45 losses, bringing them just below 500 at 464. They're 10 and a half games behind the Tampa Bay Rays. They've won 3 and lost 7 of their past 10 games, and they are currently on a 6-game losing streak. Like I mentioned, they were just swept by the Rangers this past weekend, and I didn't mention this before, but during their weekday series, they played a 4-game series against the Houston Astros, where the Astros took 3 out of 4 games from them there. So the Blue Jays have been having a rough go this past week. The last team that I wanted to mention for the ones cooling down are the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the Diamondbacks are 41 wins to 42 losses, bringing them just below 500 at 494. They're 12 and a half games behind the Dodgers, so that means that the Diamondbacks are in the National League West. They have won 4 and lost 6 of their past 10 games, and they're currently on a 3-game losing streak. Like I mentioned, they were just swept by the Tampa Bay Rays this past weekend. So that's what I have for today's temperature check. And now we'll go into some of the home run leaders. So it seems like the home run leaders are starting to even out a little bit, other than, of course, Kyle Schwarber. So Kyle Schwarber is the designated hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he's finally broken 30. So now he's at 30 home runs. Good for him. The next highest home runs are from Yordan Alvarez, so he's the designated hitter from the Houston Astros. He now has 25 home runs, as well as Byron Buxton, the center fielder for the Minnesota Twins. He also has 25 home runs. And now for my softer take from this week. I think that the theme for this week, or really this past weekend, is that slumps don't last forever. So going back to the Red Sox sweeping the Yankees, and that being the first time that's happened since 2018, the Red Sox have been having a very rough season. Like, let's be honest, it was not expected for them to sweep the Yankees, let alone take the series. They obviously got the Yankees at a pretty quote unquote good time now that Aaron Judge and Trent Grisham, and I think there's another key player on the Yankees team that was injured right now. And so they really had a good opportunity, honestly, this past weekend. And I'm so happy for them that they were able to take advantage because, honestly, if anybody needed to win and win so decisively, it's the Boston Red Sox. So even when it seems like things are not going your way, there's always a chance that you'll be able to bounce back and have a winning series in a way that no one was even expecting. And finally, for the games that I'm excited for this week, so the week of June 29th through July 5th, this week, the Mets are going to be playing the Blue Jays in a weekday series. I'm really interested in seeing this game because the Mets and the Blue Jays have both been profoundly struggling. And so I'm just wondering who's gonna win in this situation. I'm kind of thinking maybe the Mets, now that they have a new manager, they have, new leadership, will be able to see if they are able to use that for their advantage maybe and start to have a comeback maybe this part of the season. Or will the Blue Jays finally get something to click for them? Like I mentioned, they're currently on a 6-game losing streak, so I'm sure they'll be happy to at least break that. So that'll be a really good series to watch. And then over this weekend, the Padres are playing the Dodgers again. So there's going to be a rematch at Dodger Stadium this weekend for the 4th of July, which is also my birthday. So super excited for that. But it will be really interesting to see if the Padres are going to be able to take the series from the Dodgers this time after losing 2 out of 3 from them this past weekend. The Padres are just above 500 at 524. They have won 43 games and lost 39 games, and they're currently 10 games behind the Dodgers. They've won 6 and lost 4 of their past 10 games, and they're currently on a 2-game losing streak. And this past week, they were swept by the Braves, which is what I mentioned earlier. But obviously that is a weekend series, so we'll see how the Padres and the Dodgers play throughout this week. And that is all that I have for you guys today. Don't forget to vote for your favorite players for the All-Star break. I'm not going to go through every single player that's being voted for, but this is the last week to vote. I believe Thursday is the last possible day to vote, so definitely go vote for your favorite players. Now is the phase 2, so there's like a top 2 players for each position. The top overall votes for the American League, so the person with the absolute most votes in the American League is Ernie Clement. He's the second baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. He had like 3.2 million votes. And then for the National League, obviously, Shohei Ohtani, who's the designated hitter for the LA Dodgers. He had about 3.3 million votes. So those 2 positions seem to probably be pretty locked down, but you can go and vote for the other positions for sure and see if your favorite player gets to be in the All-Star break this time. So there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please share this episode with someone who you think might like it. Don't forget to rate and comment. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Oh my gosh, wait. Hey babes, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Baseball for Girls. I probably forgot to plug the things that I'm doing, including my Instagram, so I just wanted to come back here and plug all my little things really quick. So my Instagram is baseball, the number 4 girls _ and I just kind of post on there whenever I upload a new episode. I also have a baseball score tracker. It has about 40 weeks in it, and it has like some notes sections so that you can also keep track of games throughout the week. I use it for Major League Baseball games, but you can also use it for minor league games, your kids' games, your friends that are playing baseball, whatever. It's really just a nice way to keep track of all the games and the scores from each game, especially since baseball is typically played in series. So you should check that out. It's just called Baseball Score Log, and it can be found on Amazon, and it's only $9.99. I also include how I personally keep track of games as a little bit of an instruction guide on the first couple of pages, so you can keep score like the same way that I do. Also, I am in the process of writing a ebook. So it'll be a baseball for beginners ebook that I have been working on for the past couple of weeks. It'll just kind of walk through the rules of the game, how to watch it for the first time, and just give you a general idea for how to understand baseball from a very, very basic perspective. So I'll definitely let y'all know whenever that is available. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.